We're going to talk about proper mechanics. And what I'm primarily going to talk about are the basketball signals in the back of the book. And I don't know how many of you have gone to the back of the book recently to actually check to see how many there are. Does anyone know?
No.
Like 40?
Yeah, all right, 40. Good job, 40. I don't know what this year's going to look like because of the change with the jump ball. I'm assuming they're going to keep the signal in there, but we're going to go with what we have so far. Now, the signals are broken out into 5 different categories. So 40 signals broken up 5 ways. We're going to talk about every one of them, some of them more than others, but we're going to start with the starting and stopping clock, which is the beginning of the signal. So this one, should I ask you guys, normally when I'm in front of a group, I ask you, what is this one?
We're getting ready to start the clock, and we're going to put it in action once the ball is tipped.
That's right. This is the start clock signal. The start clock signal does exactly that. It starts the clock, right? Now,
Right.
This clip is going to show you how you should chop the clock. Did we see that?
Yes.
From straight up in the air to about 90-degree diagonal. And why do we do it that way and not all the way down to the leg? Because it's like chopping wood. It just looks stronger. It looks more decisive. So go from a top to 90-degree. I always try to give the example of like taking an axe and hitting a log. It doesn't go all the way through and through to your leg. It stops when it hits that log. So that's the way we should chop it. All right, there are 3 reasons to start the clock. One is, as we just saw, the throw in, right, after it's touched by a player on the floor. After a missed free throw, when it's touched by a player. After it's been missed. And after the jump ball to start the game. So the question on the jump ball is, when do we chop the clock? Is it when the jumper touches the ball, or is it when the player, the non-jumper player, touches and possesses the ball? Does anyone have a guess? I'm going to show you a clip showing both. All right, this one, you watch. The table side official clearly chops the ball when the jumper touches it. Right?
Yes.
All right, well, here's another clip. Watch again the table official. It's a little blurry, I realize. He touches it, and he chops it when the non-jumper player touches the ball. This is a super sectional game. So which is it?
I'm gonna say the jumper touches it.
If the jumper touch, right? 592 tells us when the toss ball is legally touched, and when it's legally touched, it's by the jumper. So when the jumper touches it, we chop it in. Very good. All right, what's this next signal? Who's guessing?
Stop and play.
That's right. This is a stop clock signal, and it's exactly that. There's no motion. You just put your arm directly above your head vertically. Blow your whistle. Make sure you blow your whistle, and it stops the clock. And the next one, what is this one?
Foul.
Stops the clock for a foul, right? And the only difference is?
Open hand or a fist.
Right. A foul is always a closed fist. Now, one of the signals is the bird dog. I wish they would just take this out, don't even make it optional. But if you want a bird dog, and a bird dog is simply pointing towards the waist of a player of who's fouled, you can do that. So I wouldn't suggest doing that unless there's like 3 or 4 players in there and you really want to signify who it was. But it's really not necessary. All right. So 3 reasons to start the clock, 4 reasons to stop the clock. Can you tell me what the 4 reasons are?
A violation, a foul.
Right, for a foul, obviously. Violation's good one.
Out of play, out of bounds.
Held ball.
An out of bounds would be technically a violation, right? It's a violation. They didn't keep it on the court.
Okay.
A held ball is one of them.
and then would be a timeout if they call it from the.
And a timeout. Those are the 4 reasons. And again, that's in the rule book, 581. So this signal we used to use to stop the clock on a held ball, correct?
Yes.
But no more. It is now just, and again, I haven't seen the new, it hasn't been published yet, so I don't know how they're going to categorize it. They'll probably put it in violations. But now we don't do this to stop the clock. All we do is we simply put our hand up, and then we'll have to signify that it was a jump ball. So we stop the clock with the hand up, and then give the signal like any other violation.
I'll tell you, Josh, that's a hard one to remember because I'm so used to, I see it and the first things that go up are my thumbs. And I just, it's just a matter of getting used to flowing your hand up first and then showing
now,
the jump ball.
Tim, that's exactly what I was going to say. For some guys who've been doing this for so long, it's going to be a hard transition. Me, personally, I've always hated the thumbs up and I've never done it. So it'll be easy for me only because I never did it. So if you're kind of in between, it'll be an easier transition. But for those guys that have been doing it, like you, Tim, it's not going to be the end of the world if you keep doing it.
Oh, I know. I mean, everybody knows exactly what you're doing anyway, but the whole thing about why we do this is for proper mechanics.
That's right. That's right. Good. I'm glad you said that. All right. The next grouping is informational. All right. So in our information category, what is this? This is our direction, right? We simply point the direction in which the ball is going. Now, if you've got an out-of-bounds situation,
what's that? Oh, sorry.
if you could see that, the lead couldn't tell who it went out on, and he looked over on the side, the official that was on the side where the ball went out. If someone is asking for help, we just simply blow our whistle and point the direction it goes, right?
Okay.
Right.
If we have a situation like this, ball goes out. Now, I don't know if you heard, he blew his whistle and he pointed and the whole crowd went, oh, right? Everybody saw it but the official. Blow your whistle again, because you want to draw attention to yourself. Come in and give factual information. Don't go in and say, hey, did you see that go off of blue? Well, that's not helpful. You come in and you say, that ball went off of blue, or the ball should be going to white. And if you give that information to your partner, I'm hoping 99 times out of 100, your partner's going to change the call. Now, it could possibly be that everyone thought it went off of blue and at the end, white tipped it. So we always leave it to the calling official to either change the call or don't change the call. All you can do is give them positive information. All right. Last one on a double whistle. And it can happen. Right? Goes out in the corner there. Okay? You've got two whistles. They looked at each other. They didn't, neither of them signaled. They looked at each other. They talked about it. Only one person needs to signal. Blow their whistle and signal. You can both do it, I suppose, but only one needs to do it. If you both point a different way, you still got to get together and talk about it and pick one. I wouldn't suggest going to the arrow on that, but I suppose you could. All right. That's directional. This one, this is our designated spot, right? Simply it tells us where the spot of the throw-in is going to be. That's all we're doing with this. That's an easy one. This one was new a couple years ago. We've all been using it for years, right? This signifies that you can move along the end line on a throw-in. Whose dog is that? So if we are handing the ball in to start a throw-in, this is when we use the signal, when they're allowed to use the entire end line. We're not going to do it after a made basket when we're, we don't have control of the ball. Only when right before when we hand it. Any questions so far?
No.
All right. This one's an easy one. Right? This is our visible count. And we do this to let everyone know we are counting, whether it's a backcourt, closely guarded, whatever it may be. This shows everyone that we are paying attention and we are currently counting. And there are coaches on the bench that their job is to see if we are counting.
Okay.
I want to note here, if you have a new count, you go from, say, the backcourt to a closely guarded, or a throw into a backcourt, or a closely guarded holding to a closely guarded dribble. New count, you switch hands and you do a new hand. You have to show everyone that it is a new count. And the only way to do that is to switch hands and say, okay, now I'm counting over and I'm starting on this hand.
Okay.
Know what closely guarded is. All right, switch hands, new count. Switch hands, new count. Every time there's a new count, the hand is switched. And it's a small thing, but like I said, there are coaches on the bench that this is what they're watching. They either want the 5-second count or they want to instruct their dribbler, hey, you got to this or you got to that, so they don't get it called on them.
Okay.
All right, this one. Anyone know what this is?
Substitution.
This is a beckoning in the subs, correct. Even though subs sometimes run in without it, we are supposed to beckon them in before they come onto the court, right? Now, look at this. Do you see that? Don't do that.
Come on.
One, it looks weak. And two, if you're far away, sometimes even close, players don't necessarily see it. And so they don't see that you're waving them in. So do the big motion, wave them in. The other thing I want to talk about when it comes to beckoning subs is in a 3-person game, it's always going to be the official who is table side. So in this situation, it's the center. He beckons them in. If it's reversed, it's the trail because he's the closest to the table. He beckons them in. It's always table side. I know the center is looking at the table. I know the center sometimes sees it better. If the trail doesn't beckon them in and the center sees it, he can blow his whistle and point to the table. But let the trail, or who is ever at table side, signal to beckon them in. All right? The only time that the table side isn't going to is if we're going to go long, right? We have it on the end line. We're going to go to the new front court. That trail has to go down, but they're still going to beckon them in. And then they're going to pass it off to the center so they can get down to the end of the other side and become the new lead. Everyone understand that?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
technically, they're not letting center do it. They're still beckoning them in, but then afterwards, they're going to give it across to the center. All right. What is this?
Timeout.
Full timeout.
60-second timeout. Right? Now,
Yeah.
again, look at the hands. When we do a 60-second timeout, it's like we're pulling something, stretching something out, but we're using open hands. We're not pulling it out and giving a double fist because what is this?
Double foul.
This is a double foul. Now, everybody knows you're signaling a full timeout. Nobody thinks you're calling a double foul, but it only takes one person to test you, and it can put you in a bad position. So just do it the right way. Use the open hand. All right, so after the 60-second, we have the
30-second.
30-second timeout. That one's easy. What is this?
Officials timeout.
Officials timeout?
Yep.
Wrong.
Wrong?
This is not a signal.
30-second clock
This is a
violation.
shot clock violation in college. We do not use this in high school. Now, again, everybody probably knows what you're doing, but we don't want to confuse the two, so just don't use it. If you got an official's timeout, just blow your whistle. Put your hand up. Everyone's going to look at you anyway to go, whoa, what's going on, right? All right, I put that one in just to test you.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
All right, also on timeouts, the National Federation of High School Associations wants the person who grants the timeout to report it. So if you have a timeout and the lead calls it, don't pass it off to the center because he's closer. Yes, it saves steps. Yes, it's easier, but that's not the proper mechanic. All right? Just because it's supposed to be easier doesn't mean you're supposed to do it. So if the lead sees the timeout and calls it, I'm usually going to run in to make sure everyone knows I'm calling a timeout. I'm already there then. Then I can report. Right? Now, as they're reporting, the other officials will move into their position. As the full timeout, they stand at the blocks, right? The lane opposite the table. And the person who's going to administer the throw-in isn't necessarily the one who granted the timeout, but the person who puts in the throw-in will go to where the throw-in spot is. Now, when you report the timeout, it is important that you signal to the table when to start the timeout clock. Why do we do that?
Well, that way you get all benches or all players back to their bench set for the timeout to start, right? I mean,
that's right. So they get their full timeout amount. And if you wait for them to get to their bench, you're going to have a better chance, not always, a better chance of the coach getting his players out after the first horn. And you're not going to have to sit and wait and clap your hands and blow your whistle and get them out because he's had his proper amount of time. It doesn't always work, but you're setting the tone, and that way you can let them know. Now, just make sure in your pregame you let your table know, hey, don't start that clock until I tell you to, because some of these places will do that.
Okay.
But that's important. All right, so they're going to go back. After that 15-second horn, right, the officials are going to go into the huddles and yell out, first horn, put your index finger up. Show one finger, one, that's the first horn. And that's where you give them one warning. You wait for the second horn. If they don't come out by the second horn, you're giving them the business. Hey, come out. We're waiting for you. Let's go. Come on. I literally just keep talking and clapping and talking and clapping, and I get right into the huddle. I interrupt the timeout because the timeout is over. If you do that once or twice, the coaches get it, and then they get them out, usually. All right, and then we go back to our positions. Now, the last thing that I want to mention on the timeout, the purpose of a timeout is to stop action where it is at, so then when we resume, we go back to the action where we left off, correct? So that means if you are the center at the timeout, you're the center at the end of the timeout to begin again, or the lead or the trail. Go back to your original position. So if the lead's going to come out and we want to save steps, right, he grants it. He reports it. The center says, well, I'm going to go here. The trail goes here so he doesn't have to walk far. Now they're going to make the lead go all the way to the end. He is walking the furthest, and then they say, well, all right, we'll fill in. No, none of these guys who were in their original positions are there anymore. Now, is it a big deal? I would say yes. Some would say, well, what's the big deal? Well, maybe you've just called 3 or 4 fouls in a row, and now putting you in that position is going to make you call another 3 or 4. Right? So go back to where you left off. You're pausing the game, and then you're going back to where you were originally. Everyone understands that, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
All right. This one is not the best signal, but can we know what it is?
Somebody flushed the toilet.
Yeah, I heard that too. I was ignoring. I was giving them a break. This is the not closely guarded count.
That's a total timeout.
It looks like a full timeout, but you don't have the stretching out action. You're simply holding your arms out, and actually the fingers should be forward a bit as if you're holding a very large package. Now watch this. We need to know what closely guarded is, and when it's not closely guarded, we do need to signify to let everyone know. Right? So we're counting. When you get past the head and shoulders, we stop counting. Five-second count. Now let's watch this again. They're closely guarded here. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're dribbling. Now he's not closely guarded, right? You got past the head and shoulders of both defenders. Now we're closely guarded again. So we start the count. I still think that's closely guarded. Even though they've switched players, he was always closely guarded. Past the head and shoulders, not closely guarded. Lots of dribbling back and forth here, right? And this is intentional by the dribbler because he's trying not to get a 5-second count. Don't count if they're not closely guarded. Once they're past the head and shoulders, stop counting. Even if you don't show the not closely guarded signal, don't count. It's not fair to the dribbler who's actually doing what he has to do in order to get away. Also,
Yeah.
don't
You're saying,
question.
I have, this is something where, my inexperience, you say past the head and shoulders. I have, this is my first clinic where we've actually talked about being closely guarded. Can you help me understand that, or is that going to take us off track too much?
I'll just do it quickly. So past the head and shoulders to me is if a defender is between you, and it doesn't have to be necessarily you and the basket, between you and the ball, they're guarding you. So if they're guarding you on the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you think that they are even, hips and shoulders, you're even with them. So if they were to take another dribble, they would go around them.
Okay.
That is past the head and shoulders.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
When in doubt, say they're not closely guarded because you don't want to unfairly penalize.
Okay. Thank you.
Now don't count too quickly. And sometimes it's very easy to get excited. Watch this one. I'm going to slow it down in just a second. You didn't get the 5-second count, but let's watch. All right, we're at 6:20, where he picks up the ball and he starts the count. So we got 1 here. We got 2. We're pretty on par with the seconds here. That's pretty good. 3, oh, we're getting a little bit quicker. 4, not quite at 4 yet. Uh-oh. And 5. Once he got to 5, we're only at 6:16. That was 4 seconds. Now, luckily, the guy passed the ball, and he didn't call it. But you need to be aware if you're calling too fast. Don't penalize unfairly. When I do a 5-second count, I usually count to about 6. Because if I'm going to get to 6, I know I got to 5. If I went a little fast, then I'm gonna compensate. Do we understand that?
Yep.
Yes.
A 5-second count is very important for those coaches that's what they train their kids to get, that 5-second count. But we want to make sure that we're accurate. So don't undercompensate. All right. The next one is the tipped ball mechanic, right? This was a couple years ago. They added this in. Now, what I want to say about the tipped ball is this is only for backcourt violation information, right? If the ball is tipped and it goes into the backcourt, this is when we're going to let everyone or your fellow official, the ball was tipped. This is not to show that the ball was blocked. Oh yeah, I got a block. I got it all, We see that a lot because if you do that and then your partner calls a foul, you're only going to cause trouble. Right? So the tipped ball signal, only for backcourt information.
Got it. That's
All
good.
right. That's information. Shooting and scoring is next. This one.
No
easy
good.
one, right?
No shot.
No score. The ball goes in, but you have a foul or a player control or the buzzer didn't get out enough time or whatever it might be. No score. Wave it off. Conversely, goal counts. We use this one all the time, right? Ball goes in. We want to make sure everyone knows that bucket is good. What is this one?
2 shots, 1 shot.
Right. This is actually points scored, and you use it with the goal when you count. So if you're counting a bucket on a foul, you're going to show how many points are scored. All right? For a last-second shot situation in a 3-man game, who is in charge of the last-second shot? Anyone?
Trail.
Opposite? Right, trail. Trail or not trail, I'm sorry. Opposite table, which could be the trail or could be the center. But it's always opposite table in high school. Now the trail called that one, but that was incorrect because it's opposite table. How about this one? Now we got 2 guys calling it. Now in this situation, not a big deal, right? Because they're both saying no basket. But what if one of them counts it and one of them doesn't? One signal. That's why we pick a person to do it. It's only one person because you don't want two different signals on a close shot. All right. This is just a little thing saying it's opposite table. If it's this way, shot goes up, still opposite table. We don't need to know that. We just talked about it. All right. Next signal.
3
Right.
points.
3-point field goal attempt. That's an easy one. Look at the hand. It's 3 fingers. I don't care which 3, to be honest with you, but it's 3 fingers. It's not an open hand. It's not a closed hand. It's 3 fingers. That's the proper mechanic, 3 fingers. And then what is this one?
Touchdown.
3-point field goal successful. So if it goes in, we go up. Look at the hands again. It's like you're holding a package. That's how the orientation of your hand. All right? It's not this, and I've seen this. It's not this. I know we start with 3 fingers in the air, but it's not 2, 3 fingers up. And also look at the arms, vertical above, right? It's not this. And again, when you do it this way, yes, everyone knows, and I've seen lots of people do it all different ways. But the proper mechanic is this. All right, let's do it the right way. Let's all look the same when we do this. All right, what is this one?
It's like bonus 1-and-1 free throw.
Correct. That's the bonus free throw. 1 free throw, 2 free throws, 3 free throws. We'll signal how many there are right before each free throw.
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
That's shooting and scoring. That's a short one. Now let's go into violations. These are the fun ones, the violations and the fouls. You guys better get all of these. What is this one?
Delayed violation.
Delayed lane violation. Correct. Let's talk about this. Watch the graphic. Tell me what you got.
Put in early.
On which team?
White.
Right. Yep.
So what do you have?
Delayed.
Wait.
Delay.
Correct. We've got a delayed lane violation. And if the ball goes in, what do you have?
Nothing.
And if the ball doesn't go in,
Another shot without
correct.
penalty.
Correct. Now watch this one.
Blow your whistle.
Blow your whistle right away.
Right.
A lot of times, guys, I see a person step in and they put the delayed lane violation signal out. And then they end up blowing their whistle. But you don't need that signal because that's a delayed lane violation. Right away, just put your hand up, violation. Last one. Did we see that?
Double violation.
Who went in first? I'm going to do it again.
At the same
I'm going to do
time.
it again.
White went in first.
White went in first, so white drew green in.
So that's a delayed call then.
Correct. We're not going to penalize green because white came in. Right? And if
Correct.
another lane violation happens even after that, we're going to ignore that one. We're only going to penalize the first one. All right? Outside the arc is a different situation, but anything in the lane, the first violation is the one that we regard as the violating action. Questions yet? I know I'm going fast. All
That's
right,
all
what
right.
is this one?
Travel.
Traveling. What are we looking at?
Fists.
Fists. It is not this. And I've seen guys do a travel violation, and it makes sense, right? Open hand to stop the clock, then you come down, leave your hands open, but that's not it. It looks goofy. And if you ever see someone do this, you're going to go, huh. It is a closed fist when you churn your hands. I don't know if that's what it's called. So close them. All right. Next one.
Legal dribble or double dribble.
Illegal dribble.
Illegal dribble, correct. Double dribble, a lot of people call. It's technically an illegal dribble. What about this one?
Palming.
Palming. You're good, man. Palming. How many have called this one? Doesn't happen very often. I call it, and I get yelled at every time I call it.
All the time. All the time. And they're doing it all the time, though.
They're getting worse at it, and they
Yes.
and you get yelled at when you call it, and what are you going to do? But hey, if it's bad, you get it. All right, next one. Similar to palming,
Carry.
this is the backcourt violation.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Right?
But
It's a much bigger arc. You're going from one side to the other side. You could do a little one, and in the situation that you're using it, everyone's going to probably know what it is, but it's a little bit bigger of an arc other than palming is just more or less turning your hand over. All right, backcourt violation. Let's watch this graphic. Right? Backcourt violation, we signal. Where's the ball going to go in at?
Point of interruption.
No, not point of interruption. It's a violation that was called.
opposite table center.
It's going to go at the spot of the violation, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nearest spot of the violation. So how about this one? Where's the ball going to go in at?
End line.
Under the basket.
Nearest the spot of the violation, which would be the end line. It does not go to the division line opposite table because that's what everyone thinks that it goes, or a back. That's where most of them go because that's where most of the touches are, right? But if the violation gets all the way into the paint or down to the end line, it's near the spot of the violation. Right?
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Seconds in the lane.
Everybody's favorite call to not call. 3 seconds. I called it 3 times last year. Not once did I get yelled at for it. So if it's there, call it, right? We're not going to nitpick it. We're going to help them out as much as we can, but 3 seconds is 3 seconds. All right, what's this one?
5 seconds.
5 seconds. Another easy one. What's a 5-second violation?
Closely guarded.
What else?
Oh, no. Also getting the ball inbounds, 5 seconds.
Correct.
10-second violation.
10-second violation can only be
Backcourt.
the backcourt violation.
Right.
Looks like an elbow.
Excessive swinging of elbows. The greatest rule change ever made in the last decade that nobody ever still calls. Hey, man, if they swing an elbow and you think it's kind of dangerous, blow it. You're going to get it early, and the coach might yell at you, but that kid ain't going to swing his elbow again. And if he does, you get it again. But that's, especially in the age of concussions, this is important to get. Show the coaches that you are aware and you're trying to protect the players. And if they question you, coach, it's a safety issue. If he connects with that elbow, someone's going to get concussed, and I don't want that to happen. They might be mad, but they're not going to argue you.
Kicking.
Kicking violation, right?
Yeah.
What is a kicking violation?
Any attempt when you move your foot forward at the ball.
It is an intentional act, right? So
Right.
You're right. The foot needs to be moving toward the ball and not toward because he's running, because you think he's trying to put his foot in the way of the ball. Also, kicking is using your foot to gain an advantage by the ball. So if you take your foot and you gather the ball and bring it to you, that's a kicking violation. You are intentionally kicking the ball with your foot, even though you're trying to help yourself and not as a defensive move. That's kicking. Do we agree?
I agree.
I got some good kicking violations I haven't added in here, but maybe I'll do that. All right. What is this one? I already gave it away.
That's nothing.
Basket interference, right?
No.
This is not a high school mechanic. What is it? This is your shot clock reset in college. Don't use it. Now, again, when you do, everyone in high school knows what you're talking about, so it's not a huge deal, but why use it? It's not a signal. Just blow your whistle, Put your hand up and say basket interference or goaltending or count it or don't count it or whatever, but you don't need to set the shot clock.
I use that for missed free throw. Is that inaccurate?
That is inaccurate. What do you do on a missed free throw?
Not a missed free throw. You mean when it doesn't hit the rim, right?
So if it doesn't hit and it's a violation, all you would do is put your hand up in the air, blow your whistle, and say shooting violation. You can point to the rim if you want. You don't have to do that either. That's not really a signal, but if you do it, it's not that big a deal, but don't do it.
Okay.
All right, so when you're calling a violation, what is the sequence that you should use? Can someone say it before I show it?
I don't blow your whistle.
Blow your whistle with your hand up, give the signal, give the direction, where it's going to be.
Got it.
All four of those need to be present on a violation. Because what are you doing with all of those? One, you're stopping the clock, right? Two, you're telling everyone why you stopped the clock. Three, you got to tell everyone which way the ball's going to go. And then four, you have to tell your partners where the ball's going to be at. So the last two really are for your partners, so they can get things going when we resume play. All right. Last category, fouls. Fouls are super, super important because we need to tell coaches and players why we blew our whistle. Did he push him? Did he hack him? You know, did he block him? Because a lot of these coaches, the good coaches, they talk to their kids and they try to keep them from doing the same thing again. So using the proper signal is important. So the first one is
We use the hands.
illegal use of hands. Not a hack, not a on the arm, not a reach, illegal use of hands. Now, when I report to the table, I don't say illegal use of hands. I don't say hack. I don't say anything. I say white, 52, and I give the signal. You can say it, I suppose, but why? All right. They changed this about 7 years ago, I think. It is a closed fist across the arm. It is no longer an open hand across the arm. This is the way it used to be, and some guys still do it. If you find yourself doing this, change it. The closed fist, in my opinion, looks much stronger of a call.
Hand check.
And check. One of my favorite calls that if you call this, you probably won't hear hardly anything said to you. Not ever since about 5 years ago, right, when they really pressed it. Guys like that call. Doesn't mean call 15 of them a game, but they're there, they're there. All right, how about this one?
Hold.
Holding, right? Next one,
Block.
blocking.
Push.
Push.
Pushing, charging. I meant to have some videos in here. I forgot to put them in. I
Player
apologize.
control.
Very good. Player control. This is not a charge. This is not an offensive foul. This is a player control foul specific to a player who is in control of the ball. All right? So with the player control and with the block, we can have a large, right? A block and a charge, a blarge. What do we do on a blarge? Ball comes in. We have two whistles. One signals player control. One signals block. So what do we do?
Got a double foul.
Conference.
Do we conference and let one guy pick and then just go with that guy? No.
Double foul.
I think in women's college they do that, but not in high school and not in men's college do they. And this isn't a men's college thing, but if you've got two signals, you've got a double foul. All right? What is a double foul? What is the administration of a double foul?
The fist, open arms with the fist on each side.
Right, so we'll signal the foul, but I'm sorry. My point is, who gets the ball on a double foul?
See the arrow.
Depends on what happens. You got three things that could happen.
Depends on what happens. If there is possession when the whistle was blown, it goes back to the point of interruption. So if White has the ball and we blow the whistle and White has the ball when the whistle's blown, it's going to go back to White. If the ball is in the air and there's no possession, whether it's loose or on a shot or whatever, then it's going to go to the arrow, right? Because there's no player or team control on a try for a goal. If the ball is loose, even though there's team control, we don't know who would have gotten the ball, so you've got to go to the arrow. Now, if the ball is in the air, it goes through the basket and the basket is made, now what do you do?
That's the point of interruption, the made basket. So it goes to the other team.
So the bucket still counts because in a player control foul, it cancels the bucket, right? But a double foul is not a player control foul. Therefore, it does not cancel the score. So you score it, and then you give it to the team who normally got it on the throw. Does everybody understand that?
Okay. Yes.
So if it happens to you, you're going to be spot on, right? All right, let's watch this. Did you guys see that?
I saw the one ref on the left give a player control foul, but I didn't see what the other ref called.
He called a block and basket is good.
I'm going to let this play out. Do you see what's going on here? It's still going. Now, the reason I let that play out, and it was a little loud, I don't know if you could hear me when I was talking when this was going on, but that's why we need to know what we do when there's a blarge. Because that looked really bad. And honestly, I don't know what the foul situation was. I don't know if they did it properly or not. All I know is they got together and quickly went to go report it, and then they got together again, and then they kind of walked around a little. Then they got together again, and then they bounced it to the guy on the sideline, and then he bounced it back to the end line. It didn't look like they knew what they were doing. They lost all credibility. It's bad enough that you have a blarge, and it happens. I get it. I'm not blaming them for that. But since you have a blarge, now you've got two different calls. You know what? Double foul, get it right away, know what you're doing. So if you get together, and you should get together, know what you're going to do before you break. Because if you got to get back together again, you're going to lose a lot of credibility. You guys understand what I'm saying there?
Yes. Josh, if you have a blarge like that and the guy misses the shot, are we still shooting two and each guy has a foul?
No, because a double foul supersedes each individual foul.
You go
A
to the
double
arrow.
foul, a double foul, regardless of the foul, unless it's even if it's a 1-and-1, we don't shoot. A double foul goes to point of interruption. Did you have something to say, Tim?
No, I just, yeah, sorry. Yeah, goes point interruption because
Yeah. So a
The
double,
foul.
yeah, a double foul is not a, okay, we have a shooting foul and we have a blocking foul. Okay, we got to do the shooting foul. And then, no, double foul overtakes everything. So even if you're in the bonus, you don't shoot them. You just go to the point of interruption. Ball's in the air on a shot. We have no possession, right? So what do? We go to the arrow.
Arrow.
Okay. All right.
And if you're not sure, don't try and tell your partners to do one thing. Say, you know what? I'm not sure what we're doing here. This is what happened. The ball was in the air when the whistle blew. Give factual information so you can figure it out. All right. So on a blarge, we get together, 2 signals, and what you really want is to be aware of your partners. You can hear most of the time when there's another whistle blown that is not yours. And if you are in that situation, drop your arm down or stand there with it up and wait and see what happens. Because if you withhold from giving a signal, you will avoid a blarge. The only time a blarge happens is when 2 signals are shown that are different. So be aware of your partner and the other whistles.
So, hey, Josh, if you and your partner both call the same foul and you figure he was closer to it and had a better look, you should take your hand down right away?
What I suggest is, if it is not your primary area, you drop your fist right away.
Okay.
Because even if you have a block and your partner calls a charge, I don't care what you have. He made the call, right?
Right.
When the coach says, you're kidding me, you were going to go block. Coach, I had the same thing as him. I didn't signal, so I can say that, right? And we always back each other up. So yeah, always give it to the primary. Unless that primary knows that you blew your whistle and says, you take it. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But if you, what we say usually is post and hold. You post your arm in the air and you hold it. And if you do that, you're never going to go wrong. Easier said than done, I know. Especially at lead when you're all excited and it's coming your way and you just want to bang it home, right? All right, so on a double whistle, let's watch this. Did you see that? He posted it, he came in and he saw the other one and he puts his arm down. Great. That's perfect. I did want to mention, I forgot to mention this in the last video. Remember the one that took like a minute to show? Center had the other call. I think he had a block. And then he saw that his partner had a charge. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but he tried to kind of just ignore it and hope nobody saw him. Don't do that. Because it'll be on video. And even if no one says anything to you that night, they're going to see it on video. So stick with your call. All right. Here's another double whistle. Perfect. 2 up, he walks in, he keeps his arm up, he sees his partner has it, he walks in and he just drops it and he walks in. That's perfect. All right, what signal is this?
Team control.
Team control foul. Normally kind of a punching motion, but really the team control foul is simply your fist straight forward. And what's the difference between a team control foul and a player control foul?
No ball control.
It's on a member of the same team that doesn't have control of the ball. Right? Player control has control. That player has control of the ball. Team control, they only have the team has control and not control of the ball. I just redundantly said that over and over. Everyone got that, right?
Yeah.
All right. What's this one?
Intentional.
Flagrant.
Intentional foul. It is also used for a flagrant foul, correct? But when you show this, this means you're doing something special with that foul, right? What about this one? We already talked about this one.
Double foul.
Double foul.
Technical foul.
Everybody's favorite, right? A technical foul is one hand up, one on top, making the signal of a T. You're not smashing your fingers down. You're not, giving a big, huge show of bam and boom and you're out. No, it's just a nice, calm T. All right, it's not one finger on another finger. I'm okay if you do those things, but do it calmly. All right, the sequence of a foul.
Blow the whistle, fist up.
Fist up with your whistle.
Give the signal of what the foul violation is.
Okay.
Color,
Point to
number.
where the ball needs to go in, and then go to the table and address.
Right. So Mike is on it, and Tim, you're a little ahead of yourself. With every foul, we give a preliminary signal. Right? We give the fist up. We give the what happened, the direction, and where the ball is going to be put into play. Then we go to the foul reporting area, and please go to the foul reporting area. And then we say the color, the number. We give the signal again. Please make it be the same signal that you showed in your preliminary signal. The direction and the spot of the foul again, or the spot of the throw-in. All right? Every foul needs a preliminary signal. The National Federation wants the preliminary signal. Why? I think that's coming up. Hold on. Two-hand reporting. Remember, a couple years ago, we report with two hands now. It used to be 1, 5, or 5, 1. Now it's 51 or 15 or whatever you're showing. You say the full number and you show the number with two hands. All right, so from behind, I want to make sure we see this. We have to see, if we were reading it, we're reading it backwards, right? Because you read left to right. So if we're reading it, we're reading 15, but the people facing us are reading it left to right. So we're showing a 5 then a 1. Everyone understands that, right?
Yes.
Pretty basic. All right, so why do we give a preliminary signal?
So our partners, what it is.
So everybody
So the
knows.
players know.
So everyone knows what's going on, right? How about this clip? Anybody have an idea of what he called?
No.
The coach has got his hands up like, what's the call?
I want to show it again. It skipped a little, but to me, that looked like a player control foul.
Yeah.
The way he's walking seems like he just called a regular block foul, but nobody knows because he didn't give a signal. How can your partners help to administer if both of your partners think it's a player control foul, but you called a block foul, and then they set it up as a player control foul, and then you've got to come in and correct them? I mean, it could just cause one big, huge mess. So give the preliminary signal and let everybody know. Not only show them where the ball is going to be put into play, which direction it's going. All he did was point to the foul. He pointed to the foul, and he started walking to the table. That's terrible. You got to show your partners, at the very least, what's going on. Here's another one. I'm sorry, what's that, Tim?
I was going to say, plus it looks like it was the lead's call. Doesn't it?
Actually, Tim, I think it was either lead or the trail. It definitely wasn't the center, but the center's got to be coming in strong, so I'm not going to fault him for that.
Well, it was in the paint, wasn't it?
Yeah, it happened in the paint.
Well, it's a lead.
That's for a different meeting, Tim, where we get into the blind charges. Don't worry, I'll have that. That's coming up.
Right.
All right, this one.
Yes. No, this man, Anthony, isn't good about it. But there's something in me that just.
Now, did we see that? He blew his foul. He came in a couple steps. Once he knew the action was done, he gave his preliminary signal.
Of a push.
He showed the direction the ball is going to be going. He pointed where the ball's. He did everything perfectly right. Now, when he goes to report and when he comes back, everything's going to be ready to go because he let his partners know. We should be doing that every time.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Again, good preliminary signal. That's exactly what I have. That's where we're going to put it. He didn't show the direction, but We're not going to fault them. Preliminary signal, they wanted everyone, and the IHSA is big on preliminary signal. So if you want to move up in the high school ranks, preliminary signal. Now, when you report your fouls, don't walk through the players. It looks bad. It just looks bad. Now, to be fair, the players were running by him as he was walking to the table, right? But as an official, you need to be aware where they are. And if they're running by you, then stop and just wait. Wait for them to all go by, because you want to have a very clear and unobstructed view of the table so they can see what you are reporting, so they can record it properly. Because if they happen to see you an 11 and you were actually holding up a 12, that in the end could be a problem. That's when the coach yells you saying 12, he's not fouled out, he's only got 4. So make sure you don't walk through the players. All right, we did the sequence of a foul. What about a team control foul? Can anyone give the sequence of a team control foul?
Is it fist in the air, foul, arm, team control, and then ball out of bounds?
Fist in the air, team control foul, then the kind of foul it was, then the direction and the spot, designated spot. So the team control foul is the first foul. That is the reason you're blowing your whistle, right? And so that's the one you're going to show first. I don't know if that helps anyone remember or not, but what is the bigger foul of the two? It's the team control foul. And then, well, what kind of team control foul was it? Oh, it was a blocking foul. Okay?
Got it.
All right. All right. Those are all the signals.
Josh, can I
Yes.
ask a quick question. So the way I reported it just now is the way that I learned at a clinic. I won't say whose. So if that's the case, is there a place in the book that I can just go to verify what you just said?
In the rules book, no. And unfortunately, the IHSA doesn't give us mechanics. There's an officials, it's called an officials manual. It's a national federation, but the IHSA doesn't follow it 100%. But I'll tell you this. Do you know who Harry Bone is?
I do.
He's the head honcho, right?
Yeah.
And every year he jokes, nobody ever gets it right. And he doesn't really care. As long as you get all your signals in there and you let everyone know. But it's only going to be shown in that official's manual.
Gotcha.
I'm going to order one when they publish them in August. I'm more than happy to share with you when I get it. That's a good point you bring up, though, and I do want to mention, when you go to a clinic and you talk to a clinician or an assigner or whoever it may be, and they tell you, one, just shake your head and agree, yes. And if that's the way they want you to do it, then that's the way you do it. If the mid-suburban says you do it this way, then do it that way. Because if you want games in the mid-suburban, you want to do it the way he wants you to do it. If the central suburban tells you to do it a different way, then you do it that way. And it gets a little confusing. Or maybe just for that clinic you need to do it so they see it. Most officials, they don't care. Most tables don't care as long as you show them what happened. I guess I don't necessarily care, but what I'm saying is just do it the right way to begin with, and then you don't have to worry about it. If someone tells you that you're doing it wrong and you know 100% that they're wrong, just shake your head yes and say thank you. As a clinician in the clinic, you know, on the court, it may be a different situation, but does that answer your question? All right.
Yes, it does. I've had myself muted because of the baby in the background.
Yeah, no,
It does answer the question. Thank you.
no problem. Thank you. Okay. I want to go over quickly some proper terminology. If you guys remember 2 years ago, I think it was, point of emphasis was using proper terminology. The Federation says stop saying things that aren't proper and say them the right way. So there's just a few common misused ones. All right. A lot of guys say this a lot of the time, and I am a culprit of this as well. Some of these I catch myself saying, and I try not to. So let's start with the baseline. All right.
End line.
Where is the baseline? Well, in this picture, that's the baseline, right? The base is at the bottom. So, all right, fine. Let's switch it. So where's the baseline here? It's got to be here, right? But then what about that side? Is that not a baseline then? Which is the baseline? I mean, you could turn it this way or turn it that way, and now I'm all confused. Which way am I supposed to turn the diagram? So let's use the proper terminology. What is it? This is the sideline, and this is the end line, right?
Yes.
Coaches are going to say baseline, but don't repeat them. Eventually, they will hopefully come along and start calling it the end line, but it's the end line. All right. Pick. Is there such a thing as a moving pick? Not in the rules book, there isn't. Which one of these? There's only one of these is a legal term that we use, an appropriate term.
Illegal
Which
screen.
one it is? Right? Not an illegal pick. Not a moving pick. Not a moving screen.
Got it.
You guys are all smart. Illegal screen, right? The screen's either legal or illegal. Who cares if they're moving or not moving, or there's no such thing as a pick. I get it. It's basketball, when you play. But as an official, let's use the right terminology. All right. Walking. What is walking?
Traveling.
When you're going into the train.
Is that Cullen?
Yeah.
It's not in basketball. That's what it is. It's traveling, right? It's not walking. It's not too many steps. And I've heard them all, and I've actually used them all. It's traveling. Okay, coach, he traveled. Traveling violation. Let's use the right one. All right, how about on the floor? You all heard on the floor?
Yep.
Come on, everyone raise your hand on this one. Everyone has said this one.
Yes.
There's no such thing as on the floor. Most fouls are on the floor, aren't they? Can a player be in the act of shooting while they're standing on the floor?
Yes.
Is this player in the act of shooting?
We don't know.
Yep.
He absolutely is.
His arm's going up.
He's in then. This isn't part of this training, but he's in his habitual motion of shooting. His normal, usual motion of shooting. That puts him in the act of shooting. So he can be on the floor. So don't say on the floor.
For the shot.
Right? So we're going to say no shot, out of bounds. Or if you properly do it, you're going to say 2 shots he was shooting. But not on the floor. All right. This is my biggest pet peeve. I hate this one. Coach talks to you and says, that wasn't a foul. Oh, he wasn't set. I thought he was moving. But what does the coach think? So he thinks this player can't move his feet because we said he was moving. Can a player move his feet when he's guarding?
Yes.
Absolutely he can. So stop saying he was moving. Right? So what can we say?
Wasn't in legal guarding position.
He established a legal guarding position, coach. Or he didn't have a legal guarding position if it's the converse side of it. Not he was moving. All right. Going down.
I've heard you say that, Josh. I'm kidding.
I still say this one and I catch myself because when you get excited, right? Or that way. Those aren't terms that we're supposed to be using. What is it? Player control foul. That's it. Player control foul. And then the direction that we're going and the spot of the spot of the throw-in. Right?
Okay.
As Tim has kindly pointed out, you'll probably still hear me say going down or that way. When you get excited, I get it. But if we can catch ourselves and try and correct it so it doesn't happen again. All right, continuation. Now, I hope most of you go, wait a second, I thought continuation was legal. Well, yes and no. Nowhere in the rule book is the word continuation. All right? They use it a lot in the NBA when they talk about it. They use the word a lot to explain what's going on, but nowhere in the rule book is the word continuation. So what's in there? It's continuous motion. I know I'm being a stickler now. I realize that. But it's not continuation. He's allowed to continue his motion. All right? So as long as he's in his habitual throwing motion or his usual throwing motion, he's allowed to finish. And I've done this before where I said to the coach, no, he's allowed to finish his usual throwing motion. He's like, huh? They don't get it. But that's okay. So those are just a few things, if you can say, catch yourself saying and say in the proper way. End line is a big one for me. So if you're working with me, don't say baseline to me. He was moving. Big one for me. I hate that one, like I said. So that's the presentation I got. Let me switch this back over. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm good. Thank you. This was excellent.
This presentation was not as packed with videos as I would like, but I try to keep it within an hour. So when I play videos, I can't stop talking. Well, I can't stop talking regardless. So for those of you who are interested, August 20th, it's a Tuesday. All of them are going to be 6:30, and I've got it scheduled all the way through the basketball season. But we're going to talk about traveling. And this one's going to have a lot of video to watch. And we're going to break down to the pivot foot and what's traveling and what's not and what to look for. It's actually going to be a pretty good one. So if you're interested, mark it down. I'm going to send an email out again a day or two in advance. And by all means, share with any friends of yours that might want to join in. That's what we're doing next month. So hopefully you can make it. If not, we'll see you next time.
Give me the date one more time. August what?
August 20th.
20th. Got it.
Tuesday, and it'll be 6:30 again, and I'm going to do my hardest again to keep it within an hour.
All right,
Very
Josh.
Thank you.
Good job tonight, Josh. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah,
Good to see
agreed.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.